This morning, after breakfast, Kaka the raccoon wandered the forest, checking for any emergencies he needed to address. He walked to the river and saw Luka. Luka the brown bear is in the river, checking the small fish in his hand. He often checks the growth and ecological status of the fish in the river. As Kaka was walking, he suddenly looked up at the sky. Dark clouds gradually covered the sun. He said, "It's going to rain soon." Meanwhile, Fili, the little yellow duck, sat by the river, looking distressed. He scratched his head with one hand and rubbed his shoulder with the other. The rain was getting heavier, so Fili jumped up and ran toward the woods. He thought, if there's thunder, it'll be even worse. He ran too fast, tripped, and fell in the mud. He thought to himself, maybe I've eaten too much. Why do I keep tripping and falling in the mud? Strangely, Fili didn't leave immediately. He sat in the mud, his chin in his hand, looking thoughtful. The rain intensified. Luka slowly made his way from the river toward the woods, safe as long as there wasn't thunder. But then he saw Fili in the mud. He wondered, is he taking a mud bath? He quickly stepped forward and pulled Fili out of the mud. The rain was pouring down, and he needed to get him home quickly. Dirt and wetness were the easiest way to get sick. Kaka, having returned home, wiped his wet hair with a towel and slowly walked to the window, closing it. He went to the kitchen and made some pancakes and watermelon juice. He said, "It's raining now, so let's put everything on hold and eat something first." At home, White Rabbit Nini stared out the window with a worried look on her face. She thought, I was planning to wash and hang out the clothes and bedding today, but now the rain's getting heavier. It looks like I won't be able to do anything today. Squirrel Nana was walking through the woods holding an umbrella, thankful that Kaka's umbrella was still at home. It turned out that Nana had come to see Nini. After Nini made some food, they sat down at the small dining table to chat. Nini understood why Nana had come and was delighted. After noon, the sun shone brightly and quickly drew the rain back into the sky. They were very happy, especially Nini. On the other side of the forest, little piglet Fili was happily walking through the woods, dancing and gesturing as he went. It was so funny. Suddenly, he stopped, looked ahead, and said, "Hey! What's Nubi doing?" Fili walked to the cave entrance and looked down to see the little hedgehog, Nubi, packing up his things. It was too dark inside for Fili to see clearly. He saw Nubi crawl out of the cave with a cloth bag in his mouth. Fili reached out and took the bag from Nubi. It turned out that when Nubi was moving, it suddenly started to rain. To be on the safe side, he decided to wait until the rain stopped before leaving. Fili, who was walking behind Nubi, said, "Next time you need help, you can ask me for help." Nubi smiled and said, "I don't have much stuff." The place I lived in before was very dark, and it was easy for water to seep in when it rained. I don't know who walked in a few days ago. It felt a bit dangerous. Ailey asked him if he lived in a tree hole. The two seemed to realize something at the same time. Nubi turned around and smiled. So it was you who was pressing on me back then. Nubi took Ailey towards his new home and said, "The red brick house in front is my new home." At that moment, Nini was taking the last pillowcase off the clothesline. She thought to herself, "I didn't expect the rain to stop this afternoon. The sun is blazing. In no time, the clothes will be dry." Nana was right. We must maintain a positive outlook to have hope. Elsewhere in the woods, Nana was squatting in front of a patch of straw mushrooms, picking through fresh ones. She loved picking the small ones, each one a bite. They were so sweet and delicious. She smiled and said, "I'm going to bring some to Nini." Kaka and Luka met in the woods after the rain. Kaka asked, "Has the heavy rain affected anything?" Luka replied with a smile, "It's okay for now, but Fili seems to be having a bad time." Luka then recounted the story of seeing Fili sitting in the mud during the rain. They then reached the point where the river meets the sea and were amazed by the sight before them. It turned out that the heavy downpour had swept a large fish into the river, and after the rain, the fish had become trapped in the shallows. They returned to the cabin, and Luka took a knife and cut a piece of meat from the big fish and then sliced it into a plate of sashimi. Sitting next to the hut were Kaka and Fili. Fili confided his doubts to Kaka. Kaka replied, "Your shoulder discomfort is probably caused by your incorrect sleeping position. And, also, rain isn't necessarily a bad thing. You just saw that big fish. Without the rain, there wouldn't have been such a surprise. Of course, there are also misfortunes." Kaka pointed to the trees to the left and continued, "Look, the bird's nest under the tree was originally on top, but it got knocked down during the rain. This is what the mother bird rebuilt after the rain." Kaka paused and said, "You must remember, after the storm, the sun will shine everywhere." Today's story has ended. Thank you for watching. See you next time.